8:14, hate crimes, we were talking about this earlier, they're escalating across New York City. The latest numbers released by the NYPD and the Hate Crimes Review Panel show, look at the numbers here, anti-Asian incidents have skyrocketed 361% from 28 this time last year to 129 this year. Hate crimes against the LGBTQ community up 193% from 29 last year to 85 this year. Anti-Semitic incidents, they're up 51%. And while there are arrests being made, more needs to be done to protect the people of New York City. Listen here.
We have 503 reported hate crimes that we've investigated. That's up 100% from last year.
It is time that Governor Hochul and legislators address these laws on a more detailed level so law enforcement in our state has better efficiency on keeping people safe.
NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea, he is joining me live for our bi-weekly conversation. So, Commissioner, good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So I'll talk about those hate crime stats in just a minute because that's a big story. But I do want to begin with some of the breaking news that we've been following this morning overnight. And that was this fire that was set to this Christmas tree outside the Corp Building, smack in the middle of New York City at 6th Avenue. One person in custody. What do we know about the individual and really the motive behind this?
Well, the motive, I don't think is clear at this point. It's an individual that's known to us. He has a series of low-level arrests, some drug arrests. He was issued earlier this year, some appearance tickets and didn't come back to court, which unfortunately is something we see all too often. He also has some low-level arrests in out of state. I believe it's Texas.
And so, Commissioner, was this just a targeted incident with this specific tree? Because I know the Rockefeller tree is always well protected. It's a few blocks away. Was this individual working alone? Are you stepping security up at all?
No, I think it's definitely one where he's working alone. That's what it appears. This is all very fresh, Dan. It's probably a little preliminary to say what the motivation was. Was mental illness a factor? Yeah. We're looking at all of that, and we'll probably have more to say.
But not looking for anybody else. You believe you have just that one?
Not at this point in time.
All right, Commissioner, thank you for the update there. Now, I want to get to this other big story, which came out yesterday, these hate crime stats that we showed. They're jarring, really, to look at those numbers. So how big is the NYPD Hate Crimes Task Force numbers-wise? Could it manage this growing caseload?
Well, they supplement. So how it works here is they supplement the numbered detective squads. This is a situation where as numbers go up, we will supplement them with additional resources as needed. The trend here, if you will, of a doubling in a year is obviously concerning. When you put up a graphic before, what we are seeing is anti-Asian really increasing, both by percentage and the raw number. I think when you look at anti-Semitic and anti-Asian, that's over 50% of all of the hate crimes in New York City.
And so does the task force need to be expanded then, Commissioner, given the recent numbers?
Well, it's something we definitely look at, Dan, but I mean, it's the same old song in terms of what we're seeing. We're seeing a little bit of mental illness. We're seeing just disregard for common decency. But when you have mass amounts of people put back on the streets that have traditionally been held in jail, you're seeing some of that permeate here as well. I mean, that's just a fact, and it's a fact that people don't want to talk about. But when you have people that have no regard for others and expecting them to change their behavior dramatically, it's not working out.
So then what are your recommendations then for the incoming police commissioner, right, on what to do to get a handle on these kinds of crimes, specifically the hate crimes?
Well, I think that a lot has been done over the last year or two in terms of education outside the NYPD as well as inside. I mean, we're going out to schools, we're hitting communities. We had the Hate Crimes Review Panel to inform the public and also to be as transparent on the PD side as possible. But when we have arrests on these cases, we also need accountability. I think it sends a strong message. So it's no one answer here to fit what we're seeing.
So let's talk about right now the other big story, and that's the latest on the vaccine mandates. Of course, the mayor expanding the mandate to include private sector workers. But just last night, a state judge, Commissioner, granted a hearing to determine whether or not that mandate requiring all city workers, including your members of police, should remain in effect. This, as an NYPD officer, says that he actually has antibodies from having the virus protect him. What is your take here?
I'm aware of the case. I saw it. We'll be reviewing it with our legal bureau. and we will follow, appropriate legal standards here. Right now, it's not changing anything. There is a hearing that's going to take place, but the NYPD attorneys as well as the city attorneys will monitor it and go accordingly.
How much, I'm going to ask the commissioner, how much of the department is currently vaccinated numbers-wise, and are you satisfied with that number?
Well, we always want it higher, Dan. I mean, as of yesterday, it was 87.4. I'm trying to get that 0.1 more so I can say 88, right? That's where we are as of yesterday. It may have actually hit 88 overnight, but that appeal process is really working out. And we have that remaining group that, we're hoping that they get vaccinated.
So, Commissioner, let's go here now, because you were sworn in as police commissioner 3 months before COVID locked the city down. A lot happened after that, right? Some would say you were dealt a very difficult card. You filed your retirement papers last week, as is the norm. Are you committed, though, Commissioner, to staying on as commissioner until January 1st, or are there plans to actually step away sooner?
No, my intention all along, since day one, actually, has been December 31st, 2021. So I'm looking forward to Times Square that evening. I'm looking forward to hopefully good weather. The ball comes down, and then I will pass the torch, if you will. So,
Commissioner, what is next for you then? I asked you this last time. You said there were details to come. We're 2 weeks later. Do you want to share those details? Is it private sector, or are you going to go be a commissioner somewhere else?
I'll talk to you in January, Dan.
I mean, get me a little nugget. Private sector?
I'm exploring all options. How's that?
Exploring all options. Commissioner, we have one more of these, I believe, before year's end and before your term ends, because I want to hear about some of the things that you think you accomplished over your tenure as police commissioner. But we'll get into that next time, okay?
Excellent. Well, thanks as always, Dan.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll see you next time.